In a small, picturesque town named Greenfield, there lived an elderly man named Mr. Thomas. Despite his limited means, Mr. Thomas was well known throughout the town for his unique wisdom and a remarkable white horse that he owned. This horse wasn't just any horse. It was a magnificent creature with a gleaming coat and an almost majestic presence. Its beauty was unmatched in Greenfield and even beyond, in neighboring towns. Mr. Thomas made his living by collecting and selling wood from the forest. He led a simple life, but what set him apart were not his possessions or his wealth, but his philosophies and the love he had for his horse. To Mr. Thomas, this horse was more than an animal. It was a cherished member of his family. He often said, "This horse is not a possession. It's a friend and a part of my home." His attachment to the horse was so strong that he turned down numerous lucrative offers to buy it. Even King Albert, the ruler of the region, had expressed his desire to own the horse and offered Mr. Thomas a handsome sum of gold coins. But Mr. Thomas remained unmoved by these temptations. He would always respond, "How can one trade a family member for money?" One morning, Mr. Thomas discovered that his beloved horse was missing from the stable. Despite an exhaustive search, the horse was nowhere to be found. News of the missing horse spread quickly, and the townspeople began to gather around Mr. Thomas, offering their sympathies and opinions. Many voiced their thoughts unkindly. "We knew this would happen. Such a precious horse in the care of a poor man like you. It was bound to be stolen or lost," they said. One man added, "Had you sold it to King Albert, at least you would have lived your old age in comfort." Mr. Thomas listened to all this, but remained calm and composed. He simply said, "All I know for certain is that my horse is not in the stable. Beyond that, let's wait and see what happens." A month went by with no sign of the horse. Then, one night, to everyone's astonishment, the horse returned. But it didn't come back alone. It brought along a dozen wild horses of the same majestic breed. The townsfolk were amazed and quickly changed their tune. "You were right, Mr. Thomas. What we thought was a misfortune turned out to be a blessing. Now you can sell these horses and become wealthy." Mr. Thomas, however, remained unswayed by these turn of events and simply stated, "The only thing I know for certain is that my horse has returned with more horses. Let's see what happens next." Mr. Thomas's son, William, began to train the wild horses. But tragedy struck when William fell from one of the horses and broke his leg. Again, the townspeople gathered, this time expressing their condolences. "This is terrible luck," they said. "First, you lose your horse, then it returns only to cause your son such an injury." But Mr. Thomas remained consistent in his view. "All I know is my son has broken his leg. Beyond that, let's wait and see what happens next." Not long after, a war broke out, and King Albert's army was called to defend the region. Every young man was required to join the fight, except for William, who couldn't go because of his broken leg. The town was in despair, fearing for their sons' lives, but they looked at William and thought, "Mr. Thomas, you are fortunate. Your son's injury saved him from going to war." Mr. Thomas responded with his usual wisdom, "My son staying behind is the current situation. Whether it's fortunate or not, we will see in time." As the war dragged on, many young men from Greenfield were lost in battle. Those who had initially thought Mr. Thomas unlucky for his son's injury now envied his situation. The people of Greenfield, now grieving and in despair, came to Mr. Thomas seeking his wisdom. "How do you remain so calm and unaffected by good or bad fortune?" they asked. Mr. Thomas replied, "It's important to recognize that what may seem like good or bad fortune at a moment can change. What matters is how we respond to these situations. We shouldn't be quick to label events as good or bad. Our focus should be on living in the present and doing our best with what we have." He continued, "Life is full of ups and downs, twists and turns. We cannot judge an entire story based on a single chapter. Similarly, we shouldn't judge our entire lives based on a single event. Our actions and thoughts are what we can control. We should focus on those, rather than worry about what others say or how they perceive our situation. True peace comes from within, not from the opinions of others." The townspeople left Mr. Thomas's home with a new perspective. They realized that life's events are not always what they seem, and that one's reaction to these events is what truly defines their character and resilience. Mr. Thomas, with his unshakable calm and wisdom, had shown them the way to a more balanced and fulfilling way of living. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the story of Mr. Thomas and his extraordinary horse, a tale of wisdom and patience in the face of life's twists. Remember, how we respond to challenges can redefine our journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and see you in the next video.